That's my job.
Just say the dumb things. Someone's got to do it.
Oh, we're already recording. All right, we're into it. Yeah. That's our soundtrack. Welcome to, well done to our listeners too, by the way. More than 5,000 downloads now. We're the hot property of, Spotify, and honestly, we're doing really well, and thanks to all our listeners. So we hope you like Dan's guest. Dan, my co-host, Dan Price, is here with me today. So Dan, who have you dragged in for us today?
I have dragged my good friend Felix. He was building a deck the other day, and he said he listens to the podcast, and I said, you should check out the Chronicle.
It was a nice deck.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Really good deck that you erected.
Thank you.
Have you erected many decks?
This was the first deck that I've erected by myself.
Usually you need a hand to erect your deck.
This
yourself?
was all by myself, and the wood was hard.
Good hardwood.
Yeah.
Good hardwood.
Well, it was pine.
We'll go forever with the deck puns.
Yeah.
But Felix listened to a lot of podcasts. I said, check out our one.
fine.
And then he was like, have you ever interviewed a farmer? I was like, I guess not.
Not a lot of farms on K Road.
Not a lot of farms on K Road.
Why are we doing a farmer? You know why? Do you know why?
Yeah, I think we'll let Felix introduce himself and it'll become apparent.
Look.
Is that a cop-out? Yeah. No, well, I like what you're doing. No, I'll let you introduce yourself first.
I was hoping one of you would have found a good link for me to K Road, but
Look, the driving, K Road Chronicle stories don't have to be particularly K Road centric. They have to be of interest to the K Road community. And as an anarchist, I love this concept. You grew up in privilege, am I wrong?
you're right. You correct?
I'm right that I'm
Yes,
wrong?
You're right.
So, but you've tell me about this beautiful space. I heard about it. Dan told we met at Dan's party. We took acid at Dan's party. Oh,
Were you on acid?
Do you think I behaved like that normally?
Yeah. Well, actually, the reason I'm interested with getting Felix on the show is because you're doing more than farming out there. You're starting, I guess it's kind of a commune, or it's, you've got a big place of land out there and lots of people are living there, and with the housing crisis now in New Zealand, you guys have kind of found an alternative where lots of people can live together and have a real community.
I guess this is a podcast about community, and that's one of the things that we're doing out there. It's sort of, I call it commune light or diet commune maybe. It's a big flat. It's a sort of a big deliberate group of mates who are living together and deciding how to collaborate in our lives on the piece of land that we've got. So three of us basically managed to pull together resources to buy this 2.5 hectare bit of property near
That's
Helensville.
actually not that much, 2.5 hectares.
No, it's I guess it's like a big lifestyle block.
Oh, it's quite big. It's like the same price for what you paid for that massive bit of land out there. You're paying for the same in Auckland City. You're getting one house with a tiny lawn.
Yeah. It depends how you look at it. It's kind of huge, and also our neighbour has, I think, 1,000 hectares, and we feel pretty small fry next to him. But
Is that enough to be sustainable?
Yeah. So the type of sort of development that we're doing on it, farming that we're looking to do, is that amount of space is going to take up a huge amount of our time and be a lifelong project. We're basically going to be converting it all into food forests. So
what's a food forest?
A food forest, as I sort of think of it, it's like when you look at the forests in New Zealand before it got colonised, and you've got trees that reach up to the sky, and then trees that can tolerate some shade underneath them, and vines growing up them, and things all on the floor, all of those layers growing that don't have any herbicides or pesticides or any human input whatsoever, and the forest is sort of, doing quite fine, thank you very much, for itself. And then you can look at the...
But you can't eat from a forest.
Nah, but all of the crops that we eat now, although they've changed pretty significantly over time, you can look at the characteristics of all of those different tree species and vegetable species, and think about what niches they would take up in an ecosystem naturally if they
I'm
were.
getting really confused. So what are you growing that you can eat?
We got some cows actually. A couple of cows there. You could.
I mean, how do you make 2.5 hectares pay for itself, support itself?
Well,
Yeah,
that's where the community comes in. Rent.
How many of us are out there now?
I think there's 10 of us.
And do you see in the future there being much more than that?
I'd love there to be much more.
Tiny homes.
Where is this property? Like in broad spectrum, we don't want people descending on you. Like
between Waimalku and Helensville.
About half an hour west.
Yeah.
the other day when we were at Dan's party and we were chatting, you were talking about the haves and the have-nots and people that come from privileged backgrounds supporting those who don't have that same privilege, and how you've all got together and you guys are how many of you are involved? How did you get a mortgage for the? I mean, I'm assuming there's a mortgage.
Yeah, there's a huge mortgage. Where did it all start? There was I guess a commune in town that had 20 people.
Candlewood. Was that what it was?
Candlelit. That I wasn't a part of, but all of my now friends were a part of, and that had 20 people living in it in Epsom, I think. And then that got sold to a developer, and there were sort of two groups that managed to buy properties, and it split up, and everyone there sort of loved the commune way of life, or that.
I live in one of those now, which is great. The idea is that where I'm staying, they're paying off this mortgage, but they want it to be like intergenerational.
I love Dan's place. Like as an outsider, I mean, Dan lives there, and it's a island of little self-contained houses and communities. There's a beautiful garden there, and it's a really lovely place to visit, and everyone's everyone's helping each other. And
yeah, there's 40 people in that community, and it has to be.
Can we say it's in Morningside?
Yeah, sure.
Right in the heart of central Auckland, and it's just this community of people all living together, sharing resources, and not eating meat. There must be a bit hard.
No, there's only one house, I think, out of the 4 houses there that does vegan meals, actually. But where I'm at, that commune, every single square meter is taken up now with tiny homes. It's been pushed to the limits. So I think we're maxed out at about 40 people. We would love to have more space. There would just be automatically another tiny home going on there. And people can have more independence. Seeing some of these tiny homes being put up now, they're really good. It's much nicer than having a 3-meter square bedroom in a house, having your own tiny home. Do you guys see that at your place, having more tiny homes out there?
We'd love more tiny homes. It's really interesting because... hang on, can we pause for a second?
Yeah.
Can we pause for a second?
Felix, what's the difference between a commune and a cult?
I don't know. We're not a commune or a cult, really. I know, yeah.
Do you use that term, intentional community?
A collective.
I don't really like that either. When we were looking for flatmates to move in, and we had that on the ad, and we felt
Had what? Commune, cult.
Yeah, I think we had commune. I think we had intentional community, and people applied that we weren't interested in living with. I think
Too hippie.
yeah, sort of maybe too alternative. I think
Like who?
Like,
Can
part
you
of-
be
it's-
too alternative?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think part of what my goals for there is around this producing food sort of side of it, and I guess making a place that people want to live for a long time, and sort of curating for the community that we've got so far, and sort of bringing in things that are going to be in aid of that in a pragmatic way long term.
Sustainable community.
Yeah, it's just
Quality people.
yeah. I think we sort of have those values of inclusion, and sometimes that value comes into would come into conflict with some of the other goals that we're striving for at the
Meadows.
at Kakuyu Meadows.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, which is hopefully will be a ironic name one day. So it's just
Because isn't Kakuyu like a kind of weed?
well, it's a grass. It's they called it the savior of the north. I think it doesn't sort of get affected by drought. I think it's a Kenyan grass or something like that. But it just it's hard to get anything else to grow around it. Get any diversity in the pasture when there's Kakuyu swallowing everything up.
Well, I see what you're doing out west. I see that's the future for a lot of New Zealanders. We can't keep buying $1 million homes in Auckland. That's not affordable for most people. I can see more people moving out west on farmland and having more smaller scale sustainable farms.
It strikes me as very similar to the old Māori pa system. The pas where they were sustained they limped on to about the 70s, where you had a community, and back then it was predominantly Māori, and they had these, they lived, worked, and survived together.
I
That's
mean,
nice.
that's what you're doing, right?
That's a great thing to do. yeah.
What's the most profitable crop?
Well, we don't grow the most profitable crop.
Would you?
Nah. Well, this ties into no. What you were asking me before that I didn't really answer about putting tiny homes on it, and we're zoned for rural production, and so I've been trying to look at the Auckland Unitary Plan and see what we're allowed to do there, and it's a bit of a working out of do we just build all these tiny homes to put everywhere, even though it doesn't look like it's legal to do that.
I think it is though, right? As long as it's like on wheels or it's
I think
elevated.
I think there's some grey areas. It's not super clear.
How do you deal with plumbing and ablutions and things like that?
I've built some compost toilets. That's something I got really into. There's a great book called The Humanure Handbook.
the what?
The Humanure. That's what you call human poo.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like a sort of trying to rebrand it as a resource, which I'm into.
sounds better than poo.
Yeah, Humanure.
Yeah. Are you guys kind of out there as part of your Armageddon plan when the world turns to shit and climate change fucks everything? You'll be like, well, at least we've got our sustainable farm out here on the west.
Well, it's sort of the
Is
best
it
of
sustainable though?
It's sort of the best of both things of we're prepping, but if everyone else gets on board and starts doing good climate things, then maybe we were just doing the right thing for that anyway. So it's a kind of we kind of get both of those bits of it. So what was your question, Six?
Is it sustainable? I mean,
Oh,
you'd
yeah,
still have to trade with people, don't you?
I don't.
I mean, you're buying electricity.
when it comes to farming, I don't really think of it as sustainable as being a useful word. Like, if you're trying to farm with natural systems don't have a status quo. There's nothing to.
Hey, Sarah's here.
Hey, Sarah.
Hey, come in. Sorry.
There's sort of nothing to sustain. Nature's constantly in flux, and trying to hit this middle ground of sustaining just doesn't exist. You find that in nature things are either degenerating or they're regenerating. So farming, I think, now has to be more than sustainable. It has to be regenerative. It has to. You have to be building topsoil, which is capturing carbon. You have to be increasing diversity on the farm.
So where do you see Kikuyu Meadows in 5 years, say?
In 5 years' time, I'd love to have a significant amount of it planted out. I think there'll probably be a baby there by then.
Maybe more than one.
Maybe more than one. So that'll yeah.
Baby farming.
I think by then.
I think that's illegal.
It's a valuable crop, though. It's
yeah.
Is there a driving ideology behind what you're doing? Are you a communist?
No.
Anarchist.
No, I'm just
Felix.
I'm just Felix. Yeah.
Who's in control? There's got to be somebody at the top that's,
pulling all the strings.
organising shit. We have Sarah. You must have a version of Sarah that organizes shit, makes sure everyone's going. Welcome, Sarah.
Actually, I'm 8 minutes early. They told me it was at 3:00. So just saying.
Just saying.
People take it in turns to organize different parts of the project. We've got a great mix of people that sort of put their hands up for different roles on the farm. I think I always wanted to be a farmer, but I never really wanted to live in the country by myself.
Sounds lonely. Why'd you always want to be a farmer?
I started off learning about the environment, about climate change and what's happening there, and then a little bit research later, I sort of worked out the impact of animal agriculture on the climate.
Did you grow up on a farm?
No, I grew up in the suburbs in Karori in Wellington.
I've heard of Wellington. It's where Aucklanders go to die.
It's a beautiful place, yeah.
I thought that was Tauranga.
No, that's where just people are dead. Just nobody's had the courage to tell them yet.
Hey, you know where I'm from on the west coast? I'm from a very small town called Whataroa, which the population when I was growing up was like 350, and now it's just going down and down. Maybe,
my school had more than 350.
I know, and then my hometown now is down to like 200 and something, and I think part of it is because
does it still qualify as a town?
Maybe not. They took half the school away on a truck the other day.
Took half the school.
Yeah. Like they don't need this.
It's sad, man.
But it used to be quite diversified with the farms there, but then in the, I guess it was the 90s when everybody started figuring out that like dairy milk is so profitable, everybody switched to dairy, and then it ended up being one farmer acquired the next farm over, and then so on, and now there's one farmer who owns all the farms there in that town, all the land.
Isn't the whole South Island owned by 3 families?
Yeah, well, that's what's happened in my hometown. So of course nobody wants to live there if they can't be an owner of the land.
Nobody wants to live in the South Island, Dan.
Yeah,
that's why you're in Auckland.
And maybe part of the problem is because
sucks.
Yeah.
Have you been to the South Island?
I was born in the South.
You know what the best thing about going to the South Island is? Coming back.
Are you going to say coming back? By any chance?
Just said that.
Yeah.
Let me guess, you're going to say coming back.
Yeah.
Sarah, you want to chip in too?
I know what you said.
Anyway, coming back to...
coming back.
Yeah, but I think that's a shame, that everything seems to have gone dairy in New Zealand farm-wise. And apparently it's a huge polluter as well.
It is. It's an awful polluter. I feel bad about the whole situation. I used to be, waving my fist in the air about a lot of that stuff, but I've actually through this process got a lot more respect for conventional farmers than I used to.
What do you think about vertical farming? I've heard a lot about this recently. Vertical farming, where you basically take an industrial building like a skyscraper and turn it into a farm.
Yeah, that seems like a good thing to do. Yeah, I think, yeah.
Oh,
I don't
thanks
know.
for commenting on that.
Yeah, I don't know much about that.
That's a real insight
Yeah.
happening there. Hey, look, we're getting to the end of our time. I want to thank you very much for coming in because I'm sure there's sheep or cows or something missing your attention.
I feel like, no pun intended, I've kind of butchered the interview, but thanks very much for having me.
No, that's fine.
It's great.
No, honestly, you should hear the interview we did with one of the local comedians. That was butchering an interview. But you'd have to subscribe to our Patreon account to listen to that one. Hey, Dan, any last questions?
Yeah, Felix, what do you say to anybody who's thinking about getting into farming?
Oh, do it. Like, we need... the way we farm needs to change. We're going to have... supply chains breaking down in the future. We're going to reach peak phosphorus, which is worth a Google. Fertilizer costs are going up. It's going to be harder and harder to produce food, and you see the price of food on the shelves going up and up and up.
Yeah,
and we don't have a way to. There's no easy way to transition from the way that we're farming at the moment into a regenerative way of farming. There's going to be a lot of casualties on the way.
Yeah, there's been predictions of food shortage for some time. I want to get one of those veggie pods for home. So in order to get a veggie pod for home so I can produce my own food, I need my sponsors to give a couple of dollars a month.
Yeah, my problem with, well, I wouldn't say farming, but gardening's always been like...
That's a second question, Dan.
It's not a
Let's
question.
it yet.
My problem has always been with farming, to what you're saying, or gardening, is like, I'll go to Bunnings or whatever and, buy the soil and buy the seeds and put all this time and energy and effort and money into growing like some tomatoes, and in the end I don't really get that many tomatoes for like the cost of what they were at the supermarket. I think
fuck tomatoes. We need to move to more perennial agriculture. We need to be growing more trees in in forest system. Trees. Yes,
right.
you can.
Avocado trees.
Yeah, avocados, chestnuts, and nectarines, and apples, and pears, and all of these things that are going to be more than just a season. Like trees like this,
well,
every
you
year.
can bottle those too. You can
but trees are a habitat for birds and insects and all sorts of things like this that is just more than a 1 year cycle. Like nature is always trying to move itself through succession to becoming a forest, and we can design forests that use food producing crops. It's like trying to replant forests everywhere. It's like plant fucking food forests everywhere, and it's like we need more trees. It's like plant food trees, like do both at the same time. Like maximize our shit. Like yeah.
Cool.
I remember down in Hamilton one time they planted all the street berms and everything with silver beet and cabbages. I thought that was a great idea. Great use of resources. Sarah, you got any questions for us today? Or are you just still pissed off that we started without you?
Yes, and what are you going to dress up as for Halloween?
When we killed the sheep, we kept its, we tanned its hide or whatever, its skin, or we got a sheepskin there. Maybe
Leatherface.
Yeah, maybe I'll stitch that to myself and
wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
Hey, look, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's like we could have sat here all afternoon, but we're not going to because we're going to get out there and vote. So please cast your... Well, by the time this comes out, it's probably already a new election. But support us on Patreon, support us on buymeacoffee.com, support us on the street, support us at the pub, support independent public interest media. Thank you very much. You're too kind. No, stop it. Stop it. You're too kind. I love you back.